One Direction was at one point the most popular group in the world, amassing the type of fanfare young artists dream about. Everyone in the group seemed to have their big worldwide moment of solo success. Niall with Slow Hands, Zayn with Pillow Talk. Harry is practically a hit-making machine at this point, but Sign of the Times is where it all began, and Liam would Strip That Down. While Louis' solo moment in comparison seemed to go a bit understated, being the last one of the group to release his debut album titled Walls in 2020. And his standing as a solo artist and his voice is something he has expressed a lot of insecurity about. He wasn't given many solos in the early days of One Direction. In fact, he never once sung a solo during One Direction's X Factor days, often being seen as the weakest singer. "You know, I didn't sing a single solo on the X Factor," Tomlinson says. A lot of people can take the piss out of that, but when you actually think about how that feels, standing on stage every single week, thinking, what have I really done to contribute here? And that's a completely understandable and reasonable feeling, especially being that he was so young. But I think with time it may be something to grow more comfortable with. Because the reality is, in a group, especially with 5 people, there's never going to be equal singing parts on every song. And some members are more gifted than others in groups. Everyone has a position to play. That doesn't mean that it doesn't add to the overall chemistry of the group. When the group officially made their debut as recording artists with What Makes You Beautiful in 2011, Louis was not included on the song. He didn't understand where he fit within the group and was let down when he first heard their debut single. "I wasn't on it," he says. Though he remembered singing a couple of different verses on the first single, Liam Payne and Harry Styles took the lead on the song. He also pushed to be included on the group's second single, Gotta Be You, and thought working closely with a producer would ensure his inclusion. However, the verse he recorded did not make the official version. "There was an element of me feeling it doesn't matter what I do. I'm not really in control here," Tomlinson said, "and I don't see where I sit within this band. I was like, well, if I'm not going to sing, then what else am I going to do for this band?" This led to Louis feeling like he wasn't in control and had no real say or influence within his group. But as time went on, Louis would find his footing in the group, and by the group's third album, Midnight Memories, he and Liam would become the group's key songwriters. Over the entire span of the group, Louis would inevitably become the member with the most writing credits on One Direction songs. When One Direction split in 2015, Louis admitted to being angry and unprepared. He couldn't see himself doing anything else, and found it hard to imagine himself as a solo artist with a solo career. He had never even imagined himself as a solo artist per his own words. He was more comfortable within a group. And things also took a turn in his personal life before he released his debut album. His mom and sister passed away. Understandably, he went through a rut, and simultaneously didn't feel like he had much closure over the One Direction split. He did, however, imagine that his band members would succeed. He's quoted saying, "Harry Styles comes across very cool. Liam Payne's all about getting the crowd going, doing a bit of dancing. And then there's me." He also said that Zayn had the fantastic voice and Niall was fearless and lovely. Louis would later admit to being jealous and bothered by the solo success of Harry Styles, saying that he didn't know where to place himself because the other members were his only reference for a career path, and that Harry's success bothered him at first. He would later soften the blow of being jealous of Harry, going on to say, "It's not surprising to me that Harry's the most commercially successful, because he really fits the mold of a modern star," and he says that he looks at Harry as a brother. As far as Louis' solo career, he has gotten comfortable with releasing music of his own. In 2020, he released his debut album titled Walls, and in 2022, he released his sophomore album titled Faith in the Future. And obviously, regardless of his standing in the group when they first began, Louis is an essential part of One Direction lore and dynamic, and played a major part in helping the group artistically progress.